I remember I got like one of those traditional magic wands when I was young. I was convinced the wand was real. Adults need magic more than kids.
How do you deal with hecklers?
As an adult, when was the last time you experienced wonder? We see everything now, it's like on the internet, and nothing is kind of amazing anymore. It's more like the people that don't want anyone else to have fun. Those are the worst. Just like trying to get you to mess up. There's no point wasting your time. At the end of the day, my job is to make sure that everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
There's one lady held up one hand, and I was like, I just need the other hand. Yeah, she didn't have another hand.
No.
Yeah. Sure
Thank
thing.
you for making the time, and I really appreciate that.
Always good to see you.
Thanks. If how would you describe yourself first? To people who don't know you, like what do you do, and where are you from?
Okay, I guess I'm a guy that does magic.
Does magic.
I wouldn't say that is who I am. Like, I wouldn't say that's my identity. But I enjoy doing a lot of things. I've got a lot of hobbies. I enjoy jiu-jitsu, enjoy music, I enjoy obviously magic, and then I'd say I'm a pretty creative person. Like talking to people, and just trying to chase my dream at the moment of being a full-time magician.
That's what makes you interesting. The amount of people who have a dream but they don't have the guts to pursue it, or it's just there's too much I have to do, or what if this happens? I think we had this conversation before actually a few months ago as well, and one of the more memorable things that you told me was one of the reasons why you actually decided to pursue this full time. It was the note to yourself.
Yeah.
And I love that. I even told Jasmine about that. I love that. Absolutely love that. That was amazing.
That was what pushed me over the edge, because I was working in cybersecurity sales, as you know, and it was a good job for what it was for 2 years. I managed to save a bit of money, but with sales, once your figures aren't doing as well, you're not getting as much money coming in.
Yeah.
You don't get kind of that dopamine hit when you make a sale, and then it's kind of like a negative spiral from there. And then it was like the option was find another job, and I literally couldn't find anything that I wanted to do. Like I was looking on websites, I was like trying to force myself to imagine myself like doing this role, and I just couldn't find anything. And I'd always wanted to do the magic full time, but when you get caught up in like the rat race,
the rat
and like everyone's getting promotions and you're not, and you get caught up with all that stuff, I completely forgot that I wanted to do the magic full time after like 2 years. That was the plan. But I wrote this letter to myself 3 years ago, and when I was debating whether to quit my job or not, I found that letter in my drawer, opened it up, and basically it says, by this time I hope you're like a full-time magician traveling the world doing magic. And that was just when I was God, I'm not where I want to be in life. I need to take the steps to be where I want to be. And and one of the lines I put at the end was like, never settle. And that was a bit of a punch in the gut, because I definitely had settled. But sometimes you need that little thing to get you over the edge, and that was the tipping point for me, I think.
Did you always knew you wanted to do magic full time?
I started when I was 17, so not super early. But I mean, after like a year, I was going for gigs and stuff, and it was a possibility. Once I started to get paid for gigs, that was then in my mind a possibility that I could actually do it full time. But then I was doing my degree, so I did biology at university and was doing the magic on the side. But I just never had enough money basically to take the leap. And obviously COVID happened as well. But I'd saved up enough money in my sales job, and it was kind of perfect timing that it went shit basically. Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah. Whatever you want to. It's supposed to be raw.
Yeah, it went bad at the right time, to be honest. Because any later, if I was making like better money than I was, and I was living like in a really nice apartment and really comfy lifestyle, I think that's when it's really hard to give that up. But I did it a good time, I guess.
But in ratio to how you were a few months ago and now, like in terms of happiness or in terms of fulfillment, it's definitely definitely there.
Oh yeah, it's so much better. I mean, obviously it's not perfect at this point. I'm still kind of getting started,
Yeah.
but I actually look forward to the day now.
Yeah.
Like you kind of get so used to dreading going to work that it just becomes normal. But now I feel like I'm going in the right direction. I feel like the wind is in my sail, I think is the expression. So yeah, it's completely different, and it's just the sense of freedom as well. I think just being self-employed gives you such a sense of freedom to just feel like you're in control of your own life.
Like going to the gym at 11 in the morning, or
Yeah.
going to the grocery store at like 3.
Yeah, even doing
And
stuff
no
like
one will
this,
be there.
like I'd be kind of worried about what time I've got to go to bed so I can get up in the morning.
Yeah.
But you're just a lot more flexible when you're self-employed, I guess.
And you could literally wake up late but still do the work.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
end up like staying up late and then working still, because it's your own time. You have control over that. I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like you said, the rat race is you're trading in your freedom and your time. But obviously at the start, I want to touch back at the start. Like when you first made that choice, right? It's scary, it's risky, obviously. Was it hard managing your time, the discipline?
Yeah, it's hard and it still is.
Yeah, I
Because
guess.
I think at this point, I'm still finding my feet, trying to find what's working. But yeah, there's a lot of time on my hands where I'm just reaching out to people, sending emails and doing the social media stuff, and don't really know what works best yet. So it's kind of like just finding my feet. Once I figure out like a strategy that really works for me, I can kind of hone in on that.
Just trying out different things.
Yeah, and it's a matter of like getting your name out there. When any kind of performative, when you're entertaining, you've got to get your name out there, make the right contacts in the event industry, and that takes time. You can't really get that overnight.
Would you lecture
Lecture on what?
magic? I just thought of it, so I was just curious.
I don't think I'd have. Like, I feel like I'm somewhat creative in my like presentations.
Yeah.
But in terms of like coming up with like unique methods, I don't really do anything that groundbreaking to lecture about.
I pick up like new subtleties from you every time we meet.
Yeah, but I feel like that's just stuff I've learned from other people. I guess that is always the case. You're always learning from other people, and maybe in your head you're changing stuff a little bit, and then it gets passed on even more. But yeah, for me, if I was to do it, I wouldn't do it now. I'd do it after maybe 10 years of doing this full time. It would probably be more on the people side of things and the business side of things rather than, or maybe to do like presenting magic and, but it wouldn't be anything on like sleight of hand or anything.
Did you, before getting introduced to magic, obviously magic is a big part of your identity now. It is the main source of income as well. Did you always knew you wanted to do like something on the side? Or not on the side, but like not the regular 9 to 5 sort of rap race thing. You always knew that entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, I've always had like really weird hobbies.
Yeah.
Like obviously I said I did jiu-jitsu and I used to do like origami growing up. And,
Oh, well, that's why you're so good with the cardistry.
Yeah, I guess that helps. And I mean, like even over COVID, I wanted to do the music full time because I did like an album over COVID. So
You showed me the Spotify before, I think.
have I? Yeah. I'm doing a bit more now, to be fair. I'm got back into it. Yeah, I just even just doing one thing, I kind of bounce from different things, and but the good thing is like I have the time at the moment to just do different stuff and do the magic doesn't take up all my time because there's only so much time you can perform in a week, right? And obviously there's only so many emails you can do before you go crazy. So yeah, I do have a lot of time on my hands, so it gives me a chance to kind of get back into old hobbies as well.
I get what you mean, because when we first met, I was in my magic phase. But now I'm in my video phase.
Yeah. I think it's all creative people are like that. Like you'll rarely find someone that's really creative that
just stick to one thing.
Unless you're like, I mean, a prodigy. But if I'm thinking of like, is it Jamie Foxx? Do you know the actor?
Yeah, he sings, he raps.
Yeah, he sings,
comedy.
he raps, he does comedy.
Donald Glover is kind of like that.
Donald Glover. That's the other one I'm thinking of. So I think really creative people, like it's stupid to stick to one thing because there's lots of different outlets. I think it's been useful for me as well because I did a bit of graphic design as well.
Yeah.
And I did freelance stuff, and that's really helped in my magic business side of things and making a website and doing all the branding. So I think all those skills, like, it's not just for nothing.
Of course,
you can incorporate
like,
loads of hobbies and stuff like that.
I have I'm actually kind of curious. I don't think I've ever talked to you about this, but how'd you get started into magic?
Have we not had this conversation?
No.
It's probably a pretty standard story, to be honest.
You saw something on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, actually.
I saw David Blaine's special on YouTube.
Which one?
The one from like the 90s.
He's the one who actually revolutionized the street magic stuff.
Yeah, well, that was the thing for me. Like, I'd seen like clips of David Copperfield on stage and doing the boxes, and that just didn't interest me at all.
Right, yeah.
For me, the fact that David Blaine could just take a normal deck of cards and do like miracles with it, using just skill.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Why do you think that back in the 90s or early 2000s, before David Blaine, like, magic was just perceived as stage stuff? You know, it was very out of reach, very mystical. I think one of the big things that interest us with the standard, like, impromptu or regular day-to-day objects is just how random and, I don't know, like, it just feels unplanned, like impromptu, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's cool when you can make something ordinary do something extraordinary. I think that's the way I put it.
Very nice. That's the clip.
That's why, like, when I start my set, I often do stuff with elastic bands. And my premise for it is elastic bands are like the most simple object you can find.
I would
got
love for
elastic
you
bands.
to do that to them.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
elastic bands, rings, fingers, Rubik's Cube, these are the things that she has never seen. And I have no interest in them.
Yeah.
But I love seeing them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tricks that I do are pretty like well-known tricks, but I think that I talk about it and I start with it because people have this idea in their heads that magicians need like fancy boxes for cutting people in half and they need to carry rabbits on them and dust and stuff like that. That's always something that like, you'll get asked, right? Do you have any rabbits on your pigeons or whatever? Can you saw my girlfriend in half? That's a fun one.
Can you make my wife disappear?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, as I said before, making something simple do something amazing. I think that for me is the appeal. Don't know why.
Is there anything that you've tried to learn and it's just really hard to pick up? You know the reverse, is it curly Q fan or the reverse fan?
Reverse fan.
Have you seen that? So basically, you have to know how to do a lapel spread. You know what that is?
The one where you like
it
riffle
goes,
and you spread it. In
exactly.
Like yeah.
So David Blaine did this, but with one hand, and it curls into a fan.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I tried that one.
I don't think I've tried that. I can do the one where you like dribble it and then the cards like swing around on your finger and make a fan.
So it's that but with one hand.
Okay.
I don't know. I saw that. I was like, wow.
I can't do a one-handed riffle. Yeah. I haven't got that.
But the only thing is, you know, all these like cool sleight of hand and flourishes. They're cool to look at, right? But they don't motivate me as much because I don't use them.
That's the thing. Like,
how do you feel about
I learned a bit of cardistry when I started out doing card magic, but I've no interest. Like, it doesn't add necessarily to the magic. I mean, it looks cool for video and reels and clips like that. But I mean, it's funny, like, if you look at magicians like Danny Doherty's, like, they'll deliberately make it seem like they don't know how to handle cards. So in a way, that's more magical because if you're really trying to if you're trying to portray something as magical, there should be no skill involved, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another way of looking at it. But I like doing a bit because I'm trying to put across kind of like elegance and kind of.
I mean, you have the whole branding of you wearing a suit and everything.
Yeah. That's kind of because I'm trying to brand myself for like luxury events. That's the goal. So not necessarily doing events all the time, but I want to do like the big events. That's the aim anyway.
Yeah, because I realized that my branding, I've never thought much about it, and I somehow turned into the magician next door.
The what?
The magician next door kind
of
really?
Thing. As in like the local magician in the area.
I keep saying I want to do like weddings and stuff, but I'm not making the effort. And I show up with like, I do cafes or I do like like the nighttime stuff.
Yeah, you do a lot more kind of unplanned.
Yes,
I
impromptu
rarely. I mean, maybe when I started out, I used to perform in like smoking areas and stuff like that. I don't do that as much anymore.
Drunk people.
Maybe
so
I should.
hard.
Maybe
Drunk
I
people.
should.
But drunk people are hard to perform with.
I mean, they can get good reactions, but it's hard to get their attention a lot of the time.
You have to do very flashy, quick tricks as well. And as magicians, sometimes that's boring. You kind of want to go into.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
I learned Angazi from you, and I love performing that. But people don't have the attention span, and it's not even that long.
They miss the part where the corner appears. Do they?
Yeah. They just. Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Where I can't do clubs like.
Hey, you can't hear anyone.
Especially like a big part of for me the magic is like sort of creating a connection with people. Is like the trick is kind of facilitates that. Like if you can have a laugh with someone, like get a group of guys like chatting about something funny or talk about something outside of the magic even. I think that's even better if you can kind of create that atmosphere where they feel comfortable to kind of get to know you and vice versa.
What are the usual age groups that you find kind of easier to, not even age groups, like genders, groups of people who you feel like it's just easier to do magic to? Because I notice girls, they're hard to, group of girls especially. Until,
I don't know.
Until you break into it, like initially the first trick, they just intensely they're difficult. They just want to not let you.
I'll be honest, I have the opposite experience.
Oh, it's the guys. Dude, the guys are amazing.
No, in terms of, I'm talking about in terms of reactions. Like,
okay.
The girls will tend to have better reactions than guys in my experience.
No, you're right.
In terms of approachability, it's a mixture. It depends on the people.
It's a half-half thing.
Yeah, I think it depends kind of what type of event you're at. And I think, obviously how much they've had to drink will make a big difference as well.
True. Do you have a little bit of liquid confidence?
I don't drink when I'm performing.
Okay, really?
No.
I used to at the start.
I wouldn't want to like rely on
that confidence.
Yeah.
No, it's got good.
It's like I don't really drink that much caffeine and stuff like that. I don't like to rely on.
when I first started, I would just get one shot and just,
Yeah, I mean,
the first few people are always hard to do it to.
Maybe if it's your first time.
Yeah.
Or if you're going on stage, maybe.
Have you done stage?
Yeah, one time.
Will you do stage again?
Well, it was kind of unplanned, basically. So the story was I was doing the business awards in Gloucestershire, where I'm from, and I was doing close up at the reception.
Yeah.
And they basically asked me if I could do a trick on stage. Now keep in mind there's 700 people at this event.
Oh my god!
So it was at Cheltenham Racecourse, and they mic'd me up and everything. I was like, I kind of knew what I was going to do. I did this torn and restored card basically, but I very nearly botched it. Do you know when you think back, like at night, when you like think back to something embarrassing?
Yeah.
Well, I think about that story and it kind of just
keeps you up.
It jolts me because basically I don't want to give the trick away, but the trick had like a duplicate card.
Yeah.
And I kind of dropped the duplicate face up, but I think
no one saw it.
No one saw it because basically there was a big camera on the stage and it was me on big screen. And I think it may have fell below, so no one saw it.
Did you pick it up?
I picked it up. I think the guy on stage saw it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I had to for the trick.
Okay, fair.
But yeah, it went all right. But this was like not long after I started as well. Just kind of fell into that.
Well, very brave of you to actually, like, you just started magic and then you start earning money from it.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing it for like a year and a half, so it's still pretty.
It took me about 9 years to start thinking that I could get money.
Really?
Yeah. I was just really insecure about it. No, but the thing that you said, they don't know when we make a mistake, right? How do you work around that? You have it. I like to call this insurances. Or like how do you handle that?
Just bullshit them, to be honest. And a lot of the time, like as
you have to be quick. You have to be quick with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, if you're performing, the tricks you're doing, you've done many times before, so you kind of know. The chances are you've probably messed them up before as well.
Yeah.
I think that is something you learn through performance time. When I first, I think this is funny. The first time I performed on like one of my friends, it was a geography field trip.
Okay.
And it was like the guy performing was like one of my best friends at the time, but I was still so nervous. Like,
Okay.
you know, when you get the trembles
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
hands.
yeah.
And I did like 2-card Monty.
Okay.
You know, the
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah.
This is one I saw David Blaine do. And basically, I quickly like did a top change, switched one of the cards, and he saw it, and he called me out on it, and I started like getting a twitch in my eye, and I was like having like a mini panic attack. And oh god, yeah, I just lost it, and I had to like go and like collect myself for a second.
So I want to ask you about hecklers.
Okay.
How do you deal with hecklers? Some people just don't want to have a good time, and they just want to ruin everyone else's time as well. It's so annoying.
We rolling?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's different types of hecklers. You've got like the skeptics. Skeptics you can kind of deal with.
Yeah.
It's more like the people that don't want anyone else to have fun. Those are the worst. There was a guy at the other event that I did the other day, and he was like turning over cars he wasn't meant to, and
Just doesn't want to follow your instructions.
just like trying to get you to mess up. Those sort of people, like, I just stopped performing for. Like, there's no point wasting your time. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
And if someone like dislikes magic that much, so much that they want to ruin it,
Yeah.
then there's no point in me being there. So I'll just move on to another group.
Do you have like a tester trick that you usually use to gauge whether this person will be reciprocating?
I mean,
usually
I
just do
just have
ACR.
my standard kind of opener, middle,
Yeah.
and then closer. If by the end of my opener they're like still really grumpy, then I'll usually move on. Because there's other people that want to see it, and
Yeah,
it's only
yeah.
fair I should spend more of my time with them
Of course, yeah.
and not with the people that don't want to see it.
Yeah. Any crazy horror stories? Like things like
It was an awkward situation. I was trying out for a bar in Manchester called Impossible. It was
theatre? Yeah,
This was when I was at uni, and I was doing.
you know the guy who owns it as well?
It's the same guy. It was
The one with the
Boulevard. Huh?
The one with the beard?
I don't think I met
Like
him.
really buff.
I don't think I met him there.
Oh, okay.
No. But anyway, I went upstairs and I was doing double cross. But basically, the trick is you draw an X on your hand, you take it off and throw it on someone else's hand.
Yeah.
But you know, at the start, you ask them to hold out both their hands, and this one lady held out one hand, which is great, and then she didn't hold out her other hand, and I was like, I just need your other hand. And then, she didn't have another hand.
No.
So, I was like,
That's not
okay,
even-
we'll use this hand then. So, had to quickly skip over that.
That's not even a heckler story.
That's
Oh
not
my
heck, no,
gosh.
that was just awkward. I told that story in my job interview for the last job I had, and they said that's what got me the job. Because they found the story funny. But yeah, that was one.
How have I not heard that? That's so wild.
And actually, in the same night,
Yeah.
same night, some really drunk girl had like kissed me on the cheek, and it turns out rest of the night, the whole night, I had lipstick stains on my cheek, and suddenly when I went to the bathroom, I was oh shit, I got that. So yeah, and that whole gig just wasn't good.
That's why you don't do clubs anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get what you mean.
exactly.
Yeah.
Any
You know what?
other
Corporate
ones?
parties are where the money is at, to be honest.
It's I mean, they usually have a higher budget, but then people aren't usually having as much of a good time. So I think that's what weddings are good for. You know, everyone's happy at a wedding. Everyone's there to have fun. You rarely get douchebags at weddings. But in the corporate world,
actually, yeah. Yeah, I never thought
you
about
can.
it that way.
you can. But, you know, people do react to magic in the same way, no matter who you are. Like whether it is like a CEO or you know, just a teenager. You know, everyone sees magic in the same way. It kind of, the good thing about magic, it helps strip that kind of mask away. That's the surprise and the wonder kind of strips that facade away for a bit, which is kind of nice because it's kind of a leveler in a way, magic.
Obviously, you've been doing magic for a long while, and you kind of know how magic actually works and what's actually possible and what's not, right? Yeah. You know, how do you kind of reconcile that sort of understanding for your audiences. Like I tend to waffle a lot about, oh, it's psychology. Oh yeah, I suggested this to you, because I like to leave them in that, that state of like mysticism. Or let them think that, oh, it's maybe science could possibly play a part in it, but it's just fully misdirection and just hours of practice. But if it was a Venn diagram of sleight of hand and what's that, psychology, what would that look like for you?
I mean, I don't know who said it originally, but the idea of magic is that it happens in someone's head. Like the sleight of hand isn't the magic. Yeah. It's how they imagine it, how they remember it. That's the magic. So I guess our job as a magician, obviously to have good sleight of hand, but it's to craft that memory basically to be as impossible as possible and as entertaining as possible as well. That's the hard bit, because obviously sleight of hand, they don't see the sleight of hand. So yeah, you've got to do it and present it in a way that leaves the biggest impact. That's kind of the hard bit. But in terms of like a general rule I have is I don't want people to believe it's actually magic. Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think Penn Jillette said this. Like, he doesn't want people in his audience to leave more dumb than when they came. So I mean, it does happen quite a bit where like religious people will think I'm using like
black magic
or jinns or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, it's just like sometimes I'm tempted to just show them how it's done, just so, because I really don't want people believing that. But some people, no matter how much you tell them, like the more you tell them it's not, the more they think you are.
It is, they
think you're like deceiving them.
Yeah. You probably get this as well, where people say, I saw how you did that. Yeah, I saw that. I know, and then they actually don't, or they think they saw something, and they're like, I think I know. You don't. What do you do when people are like that? Because it can be annoying sometimes. I tend to like just nonchalantly just disregard them, like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
good eye, you really good eye. Yeah,
there's a couple of ways to do it, I guess. If it's like if it's like ambitious card routine where the card goes in the middle of the deck, comes to the top, usually the different phases have different methods to them, so it's the same effect but a different method. So I think that's always a good one.
That's fun.
If they say, oh, you did this, you just do a different method, and it just throws them off. I guess you want to do it in a way where there can be no possible answer. I guess that's the aim, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they think they know, then I think you fail as a magician. No, not in like in life or anything, but like in that particular trick, it could have been done in a different way, is what I'm saying. So yeah, even if they have an idea of what's wrong, of what's happened, that will still throw them off their wonder, if that makes sense, even if it's wrong.
I like how you use the word wonder, because when we're doing magic, sometimes it's not sometimes, most of the time it's like people tend to forget to see the beauty in their everyday life. I like to see it in a very poetic way, but you kind of bring back that childlike wonder, like, oh, this is not possible, but it just happened. And I did magic at a children's hospital a few years back, 2 years ago actually. Oh no, a year ago. I did it for free, but it was so fulfilling. A whole hour of just meeting kids, and they're so young. You really don't have to convince them that magic exists.
This is a good point, and this is something I believe, like, adults need magic more than kids.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, as an adult, when was the last time you like experienced wonder, like actual? Because like we see everything nowadays, like on the internet, and nothing is kind of amazing anymore.
Yeah.
But if you remember back to when you were a kid and you got like a toy, I remember I got like one of those traditional magic wands when I was young. I wasn't really into magic, but I was convinced the wand was real.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed when it didn't work. But even just getting that, the idea of it, that emotion, people go like years without experiencing. It's like going like years without like laughing. It's weird. It's weird. Like without some people haven't experienced a particular emotion in like a really long time. Isn't that a weird thought? Because I think that's our job at the end. Like as magicians, our job is to elicit wonder. Obviously, we can entertain through other means, through humor, and I guess some people will go really deep with the magic and make it more like emotional. But like with a comedian, it's joy and laughter.
Yeah.
With art, it can be other stuff. But yeah, that's the motion we're trying to. That's the primary emotion of magic, I would say.
And you know, with everything that you're doing, I know this is a very generic question, but I'm also really curious about it. Is there any specific person that you look up to? It doesn't have to be a magician. Can be, you know, a performer. Like when people ask me who my favorite magician is, I usually just say David Blaine, because that's who they know. But in actual fact, it's Danny DeOrtiz.
It's tough. There's no one that I like really idolize in magic. There's bits from different people that I like in terms of like the comedy side of things. I really like Justin Willman when like seeing a few of his stand-up tricks, because he was like a stand-up comedian and magician. So I love that crossover. I've seen like Jack Rhodes on Britain's Got Talent. Loved his stuff. So I love comedy in general. So when it's paired with magic, I think it's great. I mean, I'm sure I do have. I mean, there's people like that. I love a lot of their tricks that they put out with, like Patrick Kuhn. I love pretty much everything he's done, and I learned most of it. But yeah, in terms of like the presentational side of things, there's no one that I'd really kind of want to replicate, because I think that's quite a personal thing.
Of course, yeah.
I think it just comes off inauthentic when you're trying to be someone else.
It's like when you see a magic trick and you're like, that's really cool, but that's just not me. You ever like,
I'm trying to. There was a trick I was thinking of the other day. Yeah, just like a lot of the stage stuff, like card productions and doves and stuff like that. Anything like really big stage stuff, like it's cool. I'd like to see it, but no interest in doing it. At least not for now.
Fair.
It might change.
It might. Oh, you might lecture. Maybe you come out with something really wild. Is it? Have you? Because we see so much of this and we already know so much. Obviously, there's so much more we don't know. But all the basic classical stuff that we know and we can kind of guess how it's done, even if we don't fully know how it's done. Is there one that just left you like, just speechless, like
a trick that I've seen that I can
recently,
figure out,
or just something that you saw recently? It could be something that you knew now, and it's so crazy because it's always something that wows you, and then the explanation is just so simple.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
This was I've been doing elastic band magic for a while, and this new trick came out by this guy named Sam Huang or something. I don't know how to pronounce his surname, but the trick is called Crazy Sam's Handcuffs.
Okay.
And basically, it just looks like two elastic bands just like pass through each other. And it's like...
Isn't that the one you do?
Yeah, but there's an older version of it, which I did. And there's a new version that he came up with, a different method.
Yeah.
And even when you know how it's done, it's just insane. It looks ridiculous.
You try explaining that to me, and I still don't understand it. But it's just, I love watching it. Because in my head, it's just how it is. It's literally passing...
Like that, and the method is like... It's like, how did no one come up with this before? It's the simplest thing. And... yeah, it just like when I saw it, it's blew my mind. That's what I love the most, like simple objects doing like insane stuff that looks like CGI.
What must be wild is that he probably spent hours just sitting there, just, you know what I mean? Like that's where you come up with the wildest.
Yeah, that guy's just genius. But even like some of the mathematical tricks with the cards, like there are a few tricks I do, which I don't know how they work.
It just works.
It just works. And it's really hard to say. Like
you showed me one when we met at the bar, and I was just like,
yeah.
What?
Some of them have like some mathematical principles behind them that you just can't explain. So
is it hard to remember them though? Like just
not necessarily. I don't really do any like counting tricks or memory tricks.
Yeah.
Maybe I should, but just because when I perform, I don't use like a stack deck or anything like that because I like to give my cards out for people to examine and shuffle. And
I've been trying so hard to memorize the mnemonic stuff. Still, yeah, every time I start, I just cannot get around
I know
to finishing
that's
it.
something I really should do, but I just know.
It's because I
just
paid.
don't, if I was doing like a table show,
Yeah.
I'd probably learn some
Yeah.
stuff for that. But like just doing like walk around close up magic, you know, one card in the wrong place and you can't do the trick. So I don't want that kind of stress.
It's because I paid for RC wins any card, any number.
Oh yeah.
You need to know the stack.
Yeah. His stuff is amazing.
It's just so wild because it's so clean. It's like, you, what number? You, what card? And the person just deals, another person just gets the deck and deals it out. Yeah, why is it so clean?
I don't know how they come up with that sort of stuff. Like,
Yeah, he's actually, his Penn and Teller thing, I don't know if you saw that.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
He's probably one of my favorites.
equivocal, but
Equivocate, yeah.
Equivocate, yeah, but what?
But not.
But not like,
Yeah, it's some like people don't realize how smart some of these magicians are. Like,
and he's the one behind the scenes, behind
Yeah.
like David Blaine. You know, he's
yeah,
not
there's a
got
whole
the limit.
underground community of magicians who, I mean, he does perform, but there's a
Yeah.
lot that don't really perform.
Yeah,
But they're essentially just like, kind of like engineer kind of mindsets.
Like
They
these-
have an idea of an effect and they manage to reverse engineer
Yeah.
how to do that. And
like this group of boys that I've met in Malaysia, where I'm from, Kuching, just these two boys. You know, I've never seen somebody so skillful in so many different genres of magic. But just, yeah, we just don't like performing.
it's weird though, isn't it? It's similar with like a lot of the people that get into cardistry.
Yeah,
Like they usually don't perform it, but they've got like this kind of close knit inside community.
yeah.
Where they're all like showing each other cool stuff.
Just doing, he's getting so wild now. Like
What's
the amount of things that they can do with just a deck of cards. It's
Like,
so-
who would have thought you could do that, like that? Even like when you think things like yo-yos and like the
Yeah,
tricks that people come
yeah.
up with, like it's crazy what people can come up with. Like when like the internet is a thing and people can talk to each
That's
other
true,
and
yeah.
spread ideas. I think that's in a way why the internet's been so great for magic is, you know, ideas can spread and people can like really smart people can adapt things, and it's just the rate that magic is improving. Well,
Yeah.
maybe over the last since the internet came out is just insane.
That actually reminds me of a question that I didn't write down, but I wanted to ask you. You're part of the Magic Circle. How's that like? Because it's a really old organization, and are they a little bit stuck on wanting to stay in the past and, you know, just keeping the secrets, or, you know, innovating and creating new ones? How's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak too much about it. Well, not because like it's a secret, but like
Yeah.
because I don't know too much. Like I'm a member. Like I did an audition and I got in, but I haven't really been there much.
Yeah.
I only went there for my audition, and for me, it was like kind of like an accreditation I could put on my website. It's kind of like essentially like a degree in magic, if that's a thing.
Where do you stand on that then, in terms of older magicians refusing to, you know, we don't want to share, we want to maintain what we have, you know, it's always secrecy.
I think that's less of a thing now, just because so
Internet.
many good magicians have come through because magic is being shared. Like Shin Lim, for example. I think he learned magic he started on YouTube.
Yeah, wow,
So and he's one of the biggest in the world now. So I think you can't be like that if you've enjoyed the magic of someone that's learned that way. You know. Yeah, and the magic is more popular now than it's ever been. So I think it's only
I think we're in-
rising tide lifts all ships.
I don't know who said this, but I think we're in the infancy of magic. You know, like how, you know, how everyone knows or has heard of a knock-knock joke? Yeah. So I would like to say like the equivalent of a magic one would be ACR. Right? But not everyone has seen that, you know? So people still get surprised at that. So I feel like we're still at the early stages of what magic can.
Is it in terms of like popularity?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, until there's a magician at every single event,
Yeah.
then, you know, there's room to grow, right? And that's the thing. Like, people might think there's like competition between magicians,
You can finish that.
But I mean, there's so much to go around. Like every event there's not a magician is an opportunity, and I think the number of events that go on every week, it's insane. So, yeah, I mean, there'll always be more work than there is magicians, I think.
There's a lot of magic shops, like physical magic shops, that are closing down as well, which is so sad. But because everything's online.
I mean, that was always going to happen. Like, it's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like Amazon and.
I feel like it's getting more
local
popular, but
shops.
it's not. It's like it's getting more popular, but not really.
What do you mean?
Like, parents would used to bring their kids, oh, let's go to the magic shop, see, there's a bunch of cool stuff. But now it's getting more popular because of social media, but less people going into physical shops. That's why they're dying out. I
think probably adults see more magic than kids do, which, as I said, I think isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because, I mean, most magicians, like the most likely place you're going to see a magician is probably at a wedding.
Yeah.
Right. And, I mean, there's not as many kids at weddings, are there? So, but, I mean, there are kids magicians, but, I mean, I kind of got interested in magic when I was young, seeing a kids magician, sorry. But, yeah, I mean, that didn't inspire me enough to kind of want to properly pursue it.
There's only after a few years later did YouTube, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For people who want to start businesses or just pursue their dreams, what advice? You have to caution them, but the risk. It's always worth the risk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty fresh in this, so I mean, I went full time in May,
so
it's yet to see whether it'll work out. Obviously,
I 100%
I believe in myself.
Yeah.
I
believe in you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I wouldn't have done it unless I had
that nudge.
I do always have kind of a weird sense of optimism. I always believe everything's just going to work out, even when it might be stupid.
I can tell. Yeah.
But I think I've always kind of been a bit like that. I don't stress too much. I mean, I'm here now, so everything has worked out. Yeah. So that's the evidence, I guess. I guess you got to be smart about it. So I mean, don't quit your job when you don't have any money.
Yeah. And
make sure you get yourself in a decent position first, and save up some money, get some experience as well. I worked in sales beforehand, and I think that was a useful skill.
Yeah.
Even though like the job wasn't my dream job, there's still skills that I've acquired and been able to apply. So I think, don't necessarily be afraid to do other stuff on that journey. But just, don't lose sight of the end goal like I kind of did. And it's a good idea to write a letter to yourself just so you can reflect back and
making me emotional. Don't forget about the end goal.
Yeah, don't get caught up in your current circumstances and kind of think beyond that.
Very nice, man. Well, thank you for having me. Oh, thank you for being here.
You're welcome, mate.
Yeah, thank you for having.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And always great to chat.